What's up, Weirdo Swarm, and welcome back to another episode of Potagon Infinity, the podcast that opens the door to all things King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. My name is Joe.
Oh, sorry, my name is Spenser. Sorry, dude, I'm over here, Ravin.
Raven?
Yeah, like, that's so Raven. No, sorry, wrong Raven.
No. We're so Raven. That's it. Maybe that could be the episode title.
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know.
Off the top of the pop there, yeah. But, dude, we're talking alien metal today, giving our initial reactions, and we do have a few people who wrote in with their own reactions, but just kind of tapping the brakes here. I think we wanted to get into a little bit of where we kind of stand in this weird timeline of things crossing over.
Yeah.
We are recording this on Friday, August the 21st. Forest Hills Night 1 has just happened last night. Everybody's soaked, but it sounds like it was a great time for all who attended. Hopefully some better weather is ahead for the rest of the weekend. We're excited for Rave Night, obviously. And this... As it turns out, the fact that this album was released during Field of Vision last weekend, the timing actually turned out okay, because we're about to talk about this album the night before, or I guess the day before, we were attending Rave Night, the way the recording schedule turns out, actually.
Yes, indeed we are. So we mentioned this before, but the only show we're attending this year is Rave Night, which is, as of right now, as we're speaking, is tomorrow night, Saturday the 22nd. So we're going to be cruising up to New York City tomorrow. So excited for that. It's going to be the two of us, and Spencer's brother is in town getting to join us as well. So we kind of have a new person who hasn't seen Giz before to drag into all the chaos, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And as you said, Field of Vision was last weekend. So there's a lot of stuff kind of all coming together at the same time right now. All these shows and this album releasing just last week as Field of Vision was getting started. So obviously we have a lot to talk about. We have this album and we want to talk about everything that happened at Field of Vision as well. But because right now we're kind of smack in the middle of the Forest Hills weekend happening, we are going to save that live show discussion for next time on the show. That way we can wait till all these are wrapped up and we can just reflect and look back at the set lists from both Field of Vision and all of the nights at Forest Hills and the K-Bridge show that's happening in New York on Sunday as well. So there's going to be a whole lot to talk about there. So today's episode is purely going to be focusing on our reactions to alien metal. And while I'm on the subject of the live shows, we mentioned this before, but if you attended Field of Vision or you're attending any of the New York shows, or if you're in Australia and about to attend those, let us know. Hit us up. Give us your experiences, what it was like, highlights, maybe some pros and cons if anything went wrong or you didn't get something that you wanted. No matter what it is, we want to hear everything from you about your experience. Since the two of us are only making it to one show this year, we want to kind of get the perspective of all the different shows and experiences from everybody. So hit us up, send us a DM on any of our socials, or send us an email at potagoninfinity@gmail.com, and we would love to hear from you.
Speaking of socials, we have a couple of messages/comments that we didn't get to on previous episodes, and one is just simply due to timing, and the other is completely my fault. A little peek behind the curtain for the listeners. I am typically the one who copies and pastes comments from the socials into this shared document that we have to read on the show, and I need to offer up my sincerest apologies to Daniel on Instagram, who goes under the handle Yoko Oh No. Daniel has written in before with some thoughts on live shows, which was something we talked about on our previous episode. And so, Daniel, so sorry I did not get around to copying and pasting yours, because I believe you sent that via DM. Either way, no excuse on my part. I want to go ahead and read your comment now. Daniel said, flying from the UK with a bunch of Giz friends for all New York City shows. And then per our prompt on social media, Daniel kind of broke down all these what they're excited for, hot takes, etc. Daniel is excited for finally getting back to normal rock shows. Feels like it's been forever, as all the past shows have been raves/orchestras. I think I'd like to hear a couple Phantom Island tracks just done with the band, no orchestra. Not focusing on craving a certain song, it creates a slight disappointment when you don't hear it. Totally fair. Hot takes, queuing up for the barrier is lame. Ooh, scorching hot here. You have then got to stand there all the time before the show for hours waiting. Just rock up for doors, get in the pit, and eventually you'll find yourself 1 foot away from the barrier. That's what I do anyway. Okay, so Daniel, thank you for your comment. I'm a little biased in sort of agreeing with you there. I have never been, to begin with, a pit guy in general, so it's easy for me to say kind of, yeah, I don't mess with that. That's just not for me. And obviously there are plenty of people who listen to this show who I think are totally all about the pit experience, and that's fine. But yeah, I with my like tiny bladder and just like total anxiety of the eventual crush, I myself would never want to like line up that early to get up right against the barrier. And like Daniel says, you can kind of work your way up anyway, some way. So yeah, kind of an interesting take there. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I love being in a pit. I love being close and kind of in all the chaos and the energy and everything, although I feel like maybe that's waned a little bit as I've started to get older. Most of the concerts I've attended in my life have been probably more metal shows than anything else, and so I've been in a lot of crazy mosh pits, and I do get a little bit of that anxiety of like sort of the crush and being pressed up against people, but I love the experience of being kind of in everything and being able to stand and move around and stuff. But at the same time, I also have a small bladder and kind of get anxiety about like being stuck if I need to like get out or go to the bathroom or anything like that. I like being free to move. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe my love for it is waning just a little bit as I get older. I have like less of a tolerance for any of the negatives that come along with that. I will say, I think there's only one like big show I could think of that I ever went to where I was literally like against the front barrier the whole time. And that was when I was in high school. I saw Slipknot and Korn together. Ooh. And that was sick. Like me and my friend got there pretty early and we had pit tickets and we just stood right up against the front barrier, like giant subwoofers right in front of us, like pounding on our chests. But yeah, anyway, I see all the sides of that.
Very nice. And then also, Daniel, you commented on coming to all the New York shows. We hope to find you there. By the time this episode goes up, it will have already passed. But try and find us. We'll post a little outfit pic, our fit pic, before we go out for the day for the rave show. So try and find us at the meetup or at the show at some point. Would love to meet you. Daniel also commented on the Phantom Island stuff. I personally wouldn't be surprised if the band leaves a lot of that in the past, just because it was so special for what it was with the orchestra, and maybe a few bust outs here and there. That's just my quick hot take on that one. Yeah, but 28 albums now. It's going to be really tough to get everything in there.
So speaking of those 28 albums, let's move into the topic at hand. Let's talk about album number 28, Alien Metal. It released just last Friday. That was August 14th, so exactly a week ago as we were recording this. One thing I want to touch on about the release of this album is that, to be honest, it was quite a bit of a sloppy release, if I may. Unlike usual Giz releases where we get a release date as soon as the album's announced, this one did not get a release date at any point. They just kept dropping singles, which was 3 of them to be exact, which is pretty typical for them. That's what they did with their last few album rollouts, 3 singles. But it was just so weird to never have a release date at all until it just popped out last Friday. And actually, I think technically in our time zone, I think it was still Thursday night when I started seeing it appear. Like I use YouTube Music, and I saw people start posting about it. So I think in our time zone, technically it was out Thursday the 13th. In some time zones, I guess, but we're just gonna go with saying Friday the 14th, I guess, because they pretty much always release an album on a Friday. So, but it was just all of it was just weird, right?
yeah, very weird, and I'm not sure what I expected after the band dropped that announcement. Alien Metal coming soon, probably, I think was the wording.
Right. Soon, probably.
And, I kept expecting, okay, they're going to drop it on a Friday prior to Field of Vision. It would be a little wacko for them to drop it on the first day of Field of Vision, but nope, Giz gonna giz. They're going to keep us on our toes. Always expect the unexpected. Yeah. And so that was quite the collision course that this album faced when they dropped it for opening day of Field of Vision, and then just boom, broke those songs out on stage that very weekend. They played 6 of the 8 songs during Field of Vision. We have yet to see 2 of them performed live. I'm hoping we get those 2 when we were there for Rave Night, Joe, but I think if I may make just kind of a sweeping generalization, it seems that a lot of people really enjoy this album more so than, first of all, more so than fans of electronic music enjoyed Silver Chord. That one was very polarizing. I think not nearly as popular. I think the electronic music fans are very in on this one. And on the flip side, people who don't care for electronic music or specifically electronic giz are just kind of giving it a, well, okay, they did a thing. It's not for me. Whatever. There's not too much outrage over it. But I'm really encouraged to see so much enthusiasm over this one. And it's... Even though they have done another electronic album, this is not Silver Chord Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. We'll get into
it. Not at all.
I think broad strokes as we discuss the tracks. We might get into some of the subgenres that this album touches on. But yeah, this is a much different animal, a much different Nathan that they built it on, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and one more thing related to, you mentioned it releasing the first day of Field of Vision. There was actually a listening party at Field of Vision the night before, Thursday night. There weren't any like concert things or anything like that scheduled for Thursday night. Field of Vision technically started Friday, but there was an option. It might have been an extra charge or something to get to arrive a day early, and so a lot of people were already there Thursday night. And P Doom hosted a listening party for this new album before it was out, or I guess mere hours before it would be out.
Yeah.
And basically there was like a smaller kind of open area in front of, it looked like, I don't know if it was one of the smaller stages or something, but definitely wasn't the main concert area, but there was like a little area where everyone could just kind of stand around and dance and check out the new music. And I thought that was a really fun idea. Like I said, still not how I expected this album to roll out, but that's how it happened, and I at least expected it to be out before the Forest Hills shows. I didn't know it would come out the day Field of Vision started, but I figured, okay, maybe it's gonna drop, at the very latest, at the start of the Forest Hills stuff. So, but anyway, here we are. It came out just before all of that, and we're loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Same here, man. I'm enjoying it so much, and I think to give a couple of hard stats here at the front that I think are important, 40 minutes, 59 seconds in runtime, and to me, that's like kind of the sweet spot for your typical album length, like that 40 to 45 minutes and 8 tracks.
Yeah.
So it gave them the freedom to expand a couple of tracks. I think there are a couple that clock in over 6 minutes, but this is not an overly indulgent project. Also, the fact that it's 8 tracks stood out to me. I had to look back in the discography. I couldn't remember off the top of my head if the band had done an album before that was exactly 8 tracks long. So I had to scroll back in the discography, and I found that they have done that exactly once before, and it was Float Along, Fill Your Lungs.
Wow.
So I had to go back 13 years to find another album that the band did that was exactly 8 tracks long. So, they're veering away from their typical 10 or 9 format and doing something a little different, as they are wont to do. But suffice it to say that this is a nice, it's kind of a nice, compact, well packaged, and I think very well considered and thought out album.
They've also done a lot of 7-track albums, which is something I've thought of a lot. There was quite a long couple-year run where, actually only like 2 years because they put out so many albums in a short amount of time, but starting with Ice Death, and then, of course, Laminated Denim and Made in Timeland don't count in between, but then Changes, Petro, and Silver Chord. So the 4 of those all are 7-track albums, if we don't count the extended versions of the Silver Chord.
Right.
But yeah, that was kind of a big thing, was like these longer songs that sort of go to these different places, but there's only 7 of them, but it's still a full long album. I mean, like in the case of Ice Death, it's over an hour long and it's only 7 tracks. So yeah, this is 8 feels like kind of a new, different thing, or I guess not new, but at least unusual number of tracks for them.
And if I may be so bold here, the fact that it's 8 tracks and it's an infinite loop, I haven't seen anybody else call it this yet, but I have dubbed this record unofficially Octagon Infinity, thanks to that beautiful loop
Didn't I just say that the other day?
Did you? I don't know. Maybe you did, and I totally forgot.
I swear, or maybe I'm thinking of it because I think I also wrote that same phrase down in my notes at some point here. But yes, I have seen it. I have seen a couple people reference that, calling it Octagon Infinity. So this album, to me, feels like an intense journey through multiple different touches of electronic subgenres. There's little touches of a lot of different styles, but kind of subtly blended together in a way that still makes a very consistent final full product. Definitely, as we kind of touched on already, in my opinion, a strong evolution of what they did on the silver chord. A different sort of sound, but just generally more consistent in its overall theme. The silver chord played around with many different sort of themes and mythologies and different stuff, and they do tie together in some ways on the album, but Alien Metal just feels like a more solid, consistent concept all around.
Yes.
All of the songs flow seamlessly into one another, which is also pretty typical for them. Doesn't really matter on the style. They do that a lot. On my first listen, for some reason, there was a slight pause before each song started, like as if it just needed like a tiny little fraction of a second to load or something. And it was driving me crazy because I wanted my first listen to be like this smooth experience of hearing everything flowing into one another, and every time a track ended there'd be like a half-second pause, and it was pissing me off. But yeah, maybe just a little internet connection issue at the time, or YouTube Music's fault, I don't know. The artwork for this album, I'm loving it. We already touched on it and kind of gave our thoughts and some details about it on the episode we did a couple episodes ago, first reacting to Level 5 and the announcement of the album. So if you want to hear our thoughts on that, you could go back to that episode. I don't think we really need to dig into it too much more right now, but I guess eventually when we do a deeper album discussion sometime in the future, when we spend more time with it, we'll come back to it and touch on it again. But Spencer, I don't know if you have anything else you want to say about the album art or anything, or, you know, we'll just direct people to that previous episode we've done if they want to hear our thoughts.
Yeah, we gave our thoughts on the album art. It's beautiful, and I think it matches the music quite well. But dude, what do you say we get into the track by track now and our initial reactions on Alien Metal?
All right, yeah, man, let's do it. Let's start it with the opener, track number 1. This is Sapiens.
Okay, Sapiens. Starting off this 8-track beauty. Sapiens, defined by Merriam-Webster, wisdom, sagacity. So, I am not sure what the hell this has to do with the song. I'll be very upfront with that. But I think, Joe, that we have the wisdom to decide that this is quite a banger. I think this sets the tone. I think this sets the tone and the pacing of the album very well. It's super kinetic. It makes me want to move. Like if I'm driving and the song is playing, boom, 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 like I'm bumping up and down, kind of bouncing in my seat. Or if I was walking on the beach like I was several times this past week on vacation, having this album going, like I got a pop in my step, to borrow from Giz Past once again there. Oh man, this is so cool. It's very bassy, which is another thing that I think right away sets this album apart from the Silver Chord, which did not always possess that quality. Right. But as we would discover later, this album like kind of starts off on a very abrupt beginning with this whoosh sound, and I was just like, whoa. First time I hit play, I'm like, whoa, okay, we're not wasting any time here. We would, of course, discover later on that the final track leads into the beginning of the first track, so that was part of the loop there. Okay, but Sapiens itself, I think it was a smart decision on their part, similar to what they did with Rattlesnake and kind of introducing the microtonal era of the band. I think this was a smart kind of like, okay, this is the new era of electronic Giz, and this is more or less what we're doing. It's not jam-packed full of Gizverse or Gizverse adjacent narratives or lyrics. In fact, there is only one lyric in the song that we'll talk about in a minute. There's one word of that lyric. But other than that, it's just this kind of bumping, kind of club-type beat that gets you moving and really gets you easily acquainted with this new release.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it is such a banger of an opener. It wastes no time throwing you right in and just into this funky, like 4-on-the-floor house beat, impossible not to bop your head to, as you were kind of describing, Spencer. It's really good. It's really good. This is definitely up there, probably with one of my non-single favorites of like out of the new songs. I don't know. I was so excited the second I started this. I'm like, okay, we're going right into it. Immediately bobbing my head to it and loving the energy. I especially love the main synth melody that repeats. That's kind of got this weird off-kilter rhythm. And I especially love like about halfway through the track when it plays on its own. And then there's like a classic build up and drop kind of moment. That's just, it's so hype. It's so it's so different for the band. Obviously, they've dabbled in electronic with the Silver Chord and some other places here and there as well. But like, this is just so cool and weird for them to do this full on like. It's like house and techno, and it's so different, and I love it. It's all styles that I love, but in their own weird giz way. One other thing I want to point out, and obviously we're not going to get too deep into things about like the possible meanings behind the songs and stuff, but there is only a single lyric, a single word repeated a few times in this song.
Yep.
And the first time through, I heard it right away, but it was just like, it almost just kind of blended in and became part of the instrumentation.
Yeah.
But according to KGLW.net, the word that's being repeated is Palantir, which, if you've heard of Palantir before, I don't know a lot about the specifics of what they do. Like, this is not my field of expertise at all, but they're like a giant, multi-billion-dollar tech company that does a lot of work with AI and defense-related things. So, all good fun stuff. They surely could not be up to anything bad. You hear them brought up a lot in like the news and like some political discussions and things like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is the only word in the lyrics, and I think that kind of sets the stage for like a technological dystopian kind of setting of like, there's sort of a theme. I'm already getting touches of a theme of, obviously, like there's an alien element based on the name of the album and like the alien character we saw in the Level 5 video. Like there's something to that, but it's also, there's a big focus on like technology and these companies like searching for the next big thing or the next big way to take control of things and make more and more money and greed. And I don't know, there's like little like I'm just that name alone is enough to start bringing that kind of like tech dystopian nightmare sort of energy.
Yeah, I like you am not all well versed in kind of this big tech stuff, but it's just kind of being forced upon us in more than one way. It's being forced upon us in kind of the news cycle, and in many ways that's good that we're aware of this, that we're kind of aware of what's being done to us as a society right now. And Palantir's like at the forefront of all that evil, like extra AI surveillance shit that's forcing us into living in a constant surveillance state in this country. So and you hit the nail right on the head, I think, of just that one word making up the quote-unquote lyrics in this song, just delivering a message like, okay, this is kind of the direction we're going with the themes on this album. And I don't know, Joe. I don't know if you've ever happened upon any electronic music on whatever streaming services you've used over the years. I know back when I was using Spotify still years ago that I would happen upon like these kind of European like club type tracks in similar style to some of this on Alien Metal, and there will be like it's almost like an audio watermark, I guess you can call it, where it's it'll say like the DJ's name and where you can find their music.
It's kind of like that.
The way that Palantir said Palantir, and the first time I heard it, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
like who's there? What's that?
It's almost like a what's the word for it? There's a specific word. It's like a tag, like an artist tag or something. And
okay.
It's almost like Palantir made this, and it's just like Palantir on the beat, like on the ones and twos. It does feel like that. I didn't even think about that. And you know what? There's another weird thing about that voice that says it. It sounds like a woman's voice.
Yeah.
It's kind of like distorted and like kind of like almost like through a vocoder or something, but it sounds like a woman's voice. And to me, when I first heard it, I thought it sounded a little bit like Leah Senior.
Oh.
And I don't think it is. Like, I think we would know by now if she was credited with anything.
Probably.
But like the tone of that the woman's voice that's saying it, or it might not even be, it might be one of the guys just through so much synthesis that I can't tell and it sounds like a woman to me, but like to me it has a similar tone and cadence to like her voice, like the way she speaks on Murder of the Universe and stuff. I don't know.
I can absolutely see that. I can absolutely hear that. Yeah. Could you imagine if 9 years later, after the last time she appeared on a Giz studio album, that she makes her way back in like this? Wow. Yeah,
just saying the word Palantir 3 times, or 3 or 4 times, whatever. Yeah.
You also mentioned a minute ago that there was a beat drop. There's not just one beat drop. There are multiple beat drops.
Oh, yeah.
On this song and on so many of the other songs, and another time, another day when we get to our full album discussion, once we've sat with this one for a while, I have like made notes of where all of the beat drops are, and it just got overwhelming how many there are on this song even, but also throughout the entirety of the album. And in addition to that, like directly connected to that, I like how Cavs, I don't know how much you picked up on this, a lot of electronic drum kit on this one, obviously, but what also sounds like a kind of a traditional drum kit that Cavs will play on, he'll bash on the cymbals in kind of a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 right before a couple of those beat drops.
Oh, yeah.
And so on an album that's so full of machines and technology and electronics, Cavs kind of provides that human touch, like, yeah, we're still a rock band. Don't you ever fucking forget it.
Yeah, that is kind of like a classic thing of like older like 90s and 2000s like house and techno, is having like that cymbal with like the 1, 2, 3, 4 either before a drop or as it's like transitioning back into another section.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that is like a digital like sample of a Crash and not necessarily like actually Cavs hitting it, because all of the percussion in this album just sounds like completely like drum machines and stuff like that to me. So I am assuming it's probably just like a sample, but I'm sure Cavs had his hands on this record, you know, handling a lot of like the beats and percussion and stuff himself, I'm sure.
Okay, sure. Understandable. Well, another recurring theme that you'll find on this album is, in true DJ fashion, some sick crossfades in the track-to-track transitions. The crossfade here on Sapiens kicks in at about 4 minutes, 30 seconds, and Alien Metal starts to fade in, the title track. So you really get all those smooth transitions that guide you so smoothly and seamlessly from one to the next. So let's go to track 2, the title track, Alien Metal.
Fall asleep under the stars. Summer breeze laced with
Track 2, as well as single number 2. We already touched on this one quite a bit on our last episode, but I still feel the same way about the song. I don't know that there's much more we could say about it right now without digging into like the lyrics and stuff like we'll eventually do on a full deeper dive on the album. But yeah, I still feel the same way about it. I still really dig it. I like the Astral Blacksmith section a bit with that deeper vocoded vocal. It's just something really kind of gnarly about that.
Astral Blacksmith, won't you give me a fix?
Yeah, just something about that really, really tickles my brain. It's really sick. And I will say though, overall, it's not my favorite. Personally, this is the one that I find to be my least favorite of the 3 singles.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that I don't like it. I still dig it, and there's certain parts of it, like I pointed out that one, like certain sections where I'm like, hell yeah, this is sick. But yeah, the other 2 singles, I think, do something a little more for me, and which of course was Level 5, which we also talked about, and then a couple tracks from now, Kill for the Steal, which we didn't get to talk about yet, because that came out right after we finished recording our last episode, so we'll get to that one a couple tracks from now. But yeah, that's just my feeling. I think it's a great song. It's just not my favorite, what I find to be the weakest of the singles, but yeah, that's just me personally. Do you feel any differently about it, Spencer?
I do, actually, slightly. This was not my favorite of the singles. I'll just get it out of the way right now. Kill for the Steal was actually my least favorite of the 3 singles. Do not dislike it, to be clear. But I think just beyond the vocals on Kill for the Steal, that track just didn't do a ton for me.
Okay.
But make no mistake, still a vital part of this album, and I would not want to ditch it or discard it if I had the authority to do so. Absolutely not. But I think what launches Alien Metal for me a little bit higher than Kill for the Steal is the 3 different vocals. At least it sounds like 3 of the guys kind of singing in their own different vocoded voices on this track. So the writing credits on this song, which we don't have all the writing credits on all the tracks yet for the album. That's kind of still in progress from Timeline is Wacky and all the admins over at kglw.net.
Right.
We do know, though, that Alien Metal is written by Ambi, Joey, and Stu, and one could assume maybe that those are the 3 guys singing the different vocal parts. There's, of course, watah, fiyah, clouds and ice part, the fall asleep under the stars, summer breeze laced with PCP, and then the astral blacksmith section that you mentioned. Those all sound
makes me feel fine. Oh no, very different song.
wrong song. Yeah, though I really do think those are three different of the guys though, because they went so far out of their way to make them sound different through the vocoder.
Yeah, they really do.
We're just not sure who is who though, because. Yeah. When we get to level 5, that threw us for a loop on Field of Vision.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that when we get there, but we were surprised who was singing that one live. Yeah.
But yeah, we've already talked about this one in a previous episode, so we're going to glaze over this one a little bit more than we will the others. But some definite standout moments that are memorable on this track. I will say in a more general sense, this one, I think, bears more similarities to the Silver Chord, in my opinion, than any other track on this album. And I have a really hard time putting it into words because I'm still learning kind of the terminology and the technical terms behind all this kind of modular synthesizer world. But some of the vocoded voices and other instrumental qualities just remind me of some of the Silver Chord extended mixes.
Yeah.
More so, as I said, than others on the album.
Yeah, you know what? There is a specific element, and I forgot to write this down, so I'm glad you said that. There's a specific element in this song, and it might pop up in a couple other tracks, but right in the beginning, when you have those initial kind of like string sounding synth layers, and there's this like beep booping kind of sound, like boo boop boo boop, like this kind of sound in the beginning. I swear that exact sound is on the Silver Chord somewhere. I need to go back and listen to that album and pick out where it is, but something about that sound and stuff like puts me back in the vibe of the Silver Chord also. So I'm with you on that.
I think we also briefly touched on the lyrics on the previous episode where we discussed this song, but there's like this theme of interstellar rebirth, illicit drug use. What the fuck? Not on my watch.
No, not my good Giz boys talk about drugs.
And then like some sort of hallucination on the part of the first person point of view being told here. We'll get into the lyrics and what they maybe mean on a deeper dive at a later date, of course. But of course, this being track 2 after the mostly instrumental track 1, this is kind of the first taste of lyrics and deeper themes that we're getting here on the album.
All right, how about we move on to another track that we didn't get to hear before the release of this full album. Let's go into track number 3, Super Heavy, Super Critical.
What a fucking banger, dude! I love this one.
You can just say that about every song, honestly. It doesn't. There's not really any misses.
You pretty much can. Yeah. So this one, as far as I can tell, has a lot of. Yeah, I'm gonna try and sample myself here in real time. This song really has a lot of Joey all over it for me. This is one of the songs where we do not yet have any writing credits visible yet on KGLW.net. But in listening to some Bolant over the past few years, this seems to be one of Joey's babies. This song in particular,
I can see that
from the club beat and then the kind of chopped sample at the beginning. When you feel it. And then that reoccurs throughout the track. This is like one of the top 2 or 3 on the album that would just totally go off in a club. With people who aren't even familiar with Giz at all. It would just slide right into a DJ mix perfectly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I also want to mention, this is one of the longer tracks on the album, one of the ones that reaches over 6 minutes. It's actually the second longest, second only to the final track, which is just a few seconds longer. We'll get to that one at the end. But, one thing I want to say is when I first saw this track title on the track list when the album was first announced, I thought it was going to be like a super gritty, kind of gnarly, like crazy track, and it's not necessarily that. It is high energy and super fun and a total banger, but it's a little bit of a different vibe than I expected. Like, it's a little more like, I don't know, like positive and like upbeat sounding, and I thought this was going to be like a gritty, like I don't know, angry kind of track or something. Like, it sounds like, oh, super heavy, super critical. It's going to be like just totally like ripping, but it's not exactly that what I expected, but I still was not disappointed by this track. I really love this one. the lyrics are very minimal on this track. It's essentially just 2 lines of lyrics that are then kind of chopped and mixed in different ways. So it's just the, like, when you're feeling super critical, when you're feeling super heavy. Those are basically the only 2 lines, just like the title of the song. And they're chopped up. And when you look at the page of the lyrics, like whether you're on your, streaming platform of choice or on kglw.net, like, it's just this wall of text with, like, the same words repeated over and over and over again. Yes. But I love it. Like, it's perfect for the song. It's just classic kind of, like, techno and EDM track that, like, takes... just like 2 lines and chops them up like that in super fun and interesting ways. And I totally agree. This is probably Joey's doing with this type of thing, because he seems to be the most involved and into electronic music with his Bull Ant project and everything. And kind of just, it gives me like, I might reference Daft Punk a couple of times because they're my favorite, one of my favorite artists of all time, certainly my favorite in the electronic genre. And yeah, like, sort of those vocal chops kind of remind me of, like, a lot of the sampling that they're known for and stuff like that. As far as I know, there's no sampling on this album. I think it's all, like, original stuff that they then kind of, like, recorded their own vocals here and then, like, sampled themselves and chopped it up and everything.
Sample only from themselves.
Right. So it's not, like, really sampling technically, but it's just, like, super cool vocal chops. I just love that stuff.
Yeah, you also get some nice wubs earlier in the track, some whoom.
Yeah, that bass that sort of goes like, wow, wow. Yeah.
If you like that stuff, you might want to listen to Tyson Crying, which was Joey's first Bull Ant album that he released back in early 2020. It's got some of that good wub shit. And then other just cool moments like a beat drop, of course. I think just about every song has at least one beat drop. Kind of a nice cowbell sample about midway through. Some more of those cymbals again. The 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's present, and then you also get as the track advances. Mind you, the song goes through many different changes, despite the lyrics kind of remaining constant.
Yeah,
and the looping of super 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 to the rhythm. You get some different qualities to the different aspects of the synth table used here, and it is not a 6+ minute long song that feels like it overstays its welcome or it gets stale with the number of changes that it undergoes. And I really appreciate kind of around the 6-minute mark, as this one starts to expire, you get these slow synthesizer swells in one of the lower layers, and it starts to give a sense of foreboding as it starts to transition to Kill for the Steel, which I don't know if you're ready to move on right here, Joe, but I think this is one of my favorite transitions on the album, the way they blend these two together.
I agree. It's a really good transition. Real quick, the last thing I want to mention about this song, something that stood out to me, is at 1 minute and 54 seconds, there's, as you said, there's a lot of different sections they go through, and we won't break them all down in detail right now, but there's this section with the synth bass kind of just hitting 2 notes back and forth, going like, dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
And does that sound familiar to you at all, like something they've done in another song? Because to me, it reminds me a lot of the end of Acarine, where it sort of does a similar thing. It's not the exact same notes, but it's the same kind of 2-note back and forth. It's a little slower on Acarine, and it's different notes. But if you listen to that part of each of these songs, you'll hear kind of what I'm talking about. And it took me a minute to figure out, I'm like, what song does that remind me of? Is it something on the Silver Chord? I knew it was something else electronic. And it reminds me a bit of that ending of Acarine.
Okay, yeah. I didn't pick up on that, but I know exactly what you're talking about. There's another one of those moments later in the album that I want to refer to, so I'm kind of putting a pin in that one, that I think feels like, even if unintentionally, a reference to a few years back from Giz history. So I don't think these are accidents. I think that they like going back to certain moments and like teasing, hey, remember 7 years ago when we did this shit? That's still on our minds. We know it's still on yours, so we're gonna fuck with it now and then because we know you love that. So just really cool here on track 3.
Yeah, and I think maybe where that's coming from is, like, obviously live, especially in recent history, they've always done this, but like teasing other songs within a jam of a different song. Like they do that on stage so much, and so I'm kind of picturing them doing the same kind of thing in the studio where they're just kind of jamming on these synths and just kind of coming up with stuff, and one of them just like starts hitting a melody or a couple root notes from a different song and seeing how that feels within whatever new thing they're doing. Like they're just kind of jamming it out, and little elements of older parts of the discography get in there.
So as we referred to a little bit earlier in the discussion of this song, this one comes across a little more upbeat, maybe a little more shiny and positive, but as I talked about, those slow synthesizer swells in the last little bit of the track start to melt into a much darker track 4. So let's go right into that, the third and final single off the album, Kill for the Steal.
So Kill for the Steal was single number 3, which I kind of mentioned earlier we didn't get to talk about on the show previously because it dropped just a few days after we recorded our last episode. Before talking about the song itself, I want to point out, when we did our episode reacting to the album announcement and the first single, we debated a bit about the title of this track.
Yeah.
Because on that initial announcement post, at least on Instagram where I first saw it, it listed the track as being called just For the Steal. And you had seen the name Kill for the Steal somewhere else, and so we kind of had like a back and forth discussing that, like which one was correct. And so yeah, I was kind of surprised to see the full name when it did release that it is in fact Kill for the Steal.
Yeah, a weird kind of, I don't know if you would call it a clerical error or just some sort of oversight by someone, whoever was ultimately responsible on getting that social post scheduled and whatnot. But it's either way, it makes up part of the main vocal hook, of course, of the song. We don't wish death, but we will kill for the steal. So that's, of course, the main kind of vocal refrain of this song. And like I said, it's kind of a darker transition coming out of super heavy, super critical, and coming into something that I think feels like something from the point of view of like some ruthless space miners who will stop at nothing to harvest the materials they seek, whatever nefarious means that they need to resort to.
Yeah.
And so I love the dark and heavy turn that this song takes the album in.
Yeah, for real. And in my opinion, this song has the best drop on the album.
Okay.
And we've talked about how there's a lot of drop moments. It's simple, but like right in the beginning, that first build up, it starts with like the "We don't wish death" repetition, and then everything stops except for that bizarre, eerie, like crazy. It almost sounds like they chopped like a vocal section to make that unique sound. It's like such a weird, eerie sound, and it's like rhythmic, like machine noise or like a machine breathing or something. Like it gives me this eerie, robotic or alien feeling, which is perfect for the theme of the album, obviously. And something about it, it's kind of like discordant and like just gives you this nasty, like foreboding feeling, but also like gets me so hyped for the drop. There's sort of a classic snare, like electronic snare build up, and then it kicks in again, but this time with like an 808, like a deep 808 bass drum underneath of it. Like this, it's just so gnarly when this song drops. And this is the one that I want to hear live the most. If they can do it tomorrow at the Forest Hills Rave Night, I guess by the time people are hearing this, all that's already done. So you'll know if we got to hear what we wanted to hear or not. But oh God, for that reason, for that drop, and that just, I don't know, it hits me in a certain way, and that's why this one was one of my favorites out of the singles and not my least favorite like it was for you.
Okay, yeah, and I think weirdly there's a part of this, of the section I think that you're talking about, right around 107, where that loop happens, and then there's the percussion underneath. It wedges its way into my skull in a way that I think it might just be when I put my noise canceling on my headphones. It drills into my skull in a way that's kind of similar to the way that the squealing, high-pitched guitar feedback would do in the earlier Giz years.
Okay.
To where I'm like, okay, I love this band, but sometimes there are little moments that I don't love because of the frequency and the pitch, and maybe this is just me being old man yells at cloud. But don't let me don't let me cloud, though, the fact that this is still a solid banger, and I think one that was ultimately tailor-made to be a single, under 4 minutes long, the shortest track on the album at 3 minutes 51 seconds.
The lyrics are pretty short and simple, like Spenser kind of already touched on, the we don't wish death upon you repetition, but we will kill for the steal. That's kind of it. That's kind of just the only lyrics that are repeated a few times. And yeah, again, simple. I think this one really just focuses more on just that drop, that like crazy, like heavy beat, and sort of that dark, eerie feeling about it. And yeah, and it's also not super long. It's under 4 minutes. So as you said, a really good pick for a single, I think. And yeah, I just love the energy of it. It gets me really excited. This is the one I think I would love to hear most, like, not necessarily hear the most live, because I want to hear this whole album live. I'm hoping we get a good, healthy chunk of it on Saturday. But this is the one I think that would go off for me, like, that I would go off to the most, like, in a club type of setting, if it was just super loud, just rattling my bones with that, like, 808 drum. Yeah, I really love this one.
Nice. Okay, I'm glad you like it so much. And again, just to reiterate, I am not a Kill for the Steel hater. It may have been the one of the three singles that hit the least for me, but this is still a vital kind of cornerstone part of this album. So before we move on to the next track, or before we start transitioning in that direction, I wanted to read a comment from listener Rodney L., who commented on Instagram at the time this single came out, and Rodney said, "Super meh on this one. Excited for this stuff to be in the past. Oh, rave shows are sort of fun, but the music for this album is really weak. Trying to imagine how bad the stuff they scrapped is if this was the cream that rose to the top.
Ooh,
looking
brutal.
forward to them picking back up the guitars." Oh, okay. So Rodney, you clearly have some strong feelings there, and this isn't just a blind rage, fuck these guys, I hate them, blah, 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 I'm never listening.
No, yeah.
But this is at least like super well thought out, like articulated thoughts. And so Rodney clearly comes down the side of like, okay, I'm tired of electronic giz. But I think at another time when we're not trying to kind of skip through things a little more quickly, this may spur a little discussion on like, are the masses getting restless under the surface a little bit? Like are people really ready for kind of guitar powered giz to come back to the forefront on the studio album aspect of things? But you know, Rodney, I'm glad you chimed in with that. Glad you kind of had the bold sense to reach out and say, you know, this is not for me. I don't care for this.
Yeah.
But I think again, this could spur some further debate if people so choose. You know, do you agree? Do you disagree with Rodney on this song or on any other songs for that matter?
Do you love it? Do you hate it? What would you rate it?
Thank you, Anthony Fantano.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The thing I love most about Giz is that you never know what to expect, and they're always doing something different. And as someone who loves electronic music and loves the way that they did it here, I really, really am loving this album. It's definitely for me. I'm definitely like the target demo for this, but it's just not going to be for everybody. That's just the nature of the band. You know, you might not dig all of their albums. I mean, I love all their different styles for different reasons and in different ways, but there's definitely like some stuff that I think they do better or just resonates with me more. And, you know, this just isn't for you, and that's fine. And, you know, I will say I hope for their next album that it maybe goes back to being a little more guitar focused, maybe some more kind of metal or proggy stuff again, or some of their classic like Giz psych rock kind of shit, because it's been a while. Obviously like Petro was metal, but it's been a long time since they've kind of gone back to like that root kind of sound. So I'm kind of hoping maybe for whatever's next after this one, maybe might return to a more familiar sounding Giz.
Sure.
Just because, you know, I think it's good to kind of the way that they sort of go around and they don't do too much of the same thing on multiple records or anything. So I'm with you in the sense that I would hope for something different next time, but not because I don't like this, just because I love when they just switch things up. So, but I'm loving this album. But that's fair and bold and brave of you to share your feelings with us. Appreciate your honesty.
At 3 minutes 30 seconds, I remember making a really quick note when I was listening through this song in the full album context, and I typed in my notes, all caps, "Wow, the way they begin blending it toward the next track." And Joe, what is that next track that starts creeping in?
We're on level 5. Level 5.
oh shit, before we do this, I gotta go check the milk in my fridge. I'm afraid it's gone bad.
Oh, expiry.
Level 5 of expiry.
I saw you posted something about that on our Instagram story recently. It was you had literally had milk in your fridge that was just past the date. You're like, oh no, the milk's gone bad, expiry.
Yeah, it was the day the day before you go on vacation for a week. I was heading down to the beach with my wife and her family, and it was clean the fridge out day. And so I looked at the milk and I'm just like, oh God, I can't pass this up. It's actually organic. It actually happened. Yep.
No way, my gallon of milk's making a Giz reference. Oh my God. You just see it everywhere, the full on Giz psychosis, where everything's a Giz reference at this point.
Giz derangement syndrome.
Giz derangement syndrome. There you go. Yeah. We have a touch of that.
Oh my God, yeah. Okay, so this was obviously the very first bit of this album that the world came to know, and it just becomes like iconic in the Giz discography already. We're on level 5. But what we did not expect, Joe, was who was singing the fucking lead vocals on this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So they debuted it. As you said, they debuted a lot of these songs at Field of Vision. And during night 1, they performed level 5. And who was it but Ambrose singing all of the lead vocals? Now, also, Stu joined in a bit. Stu was doing a lot of the backing vocals, like sort of the vocal layering that are in some sections of the songs. But it was Ambrose doing all of the leads, which was the last... I mean, not the last person I'd expect. I think I'd be more surprised if it was like Lukey or Cavs or Cookie or something. But yeah, I just, the first time I heard this song, I'm like, okay, it's definitely like a blend of Stu and Joey doing the vocals. And it was all Ambrose live. And now I don't know if that's necessarily what's going on in the studio version as well, if it was all Ambrose, or if for whatever reason, like the other guys took other roles on the live performance and he was the one that they decided should sing it.
Sure.
But I mean, usually they stick to whatever their role was on the studio version. That's who sings that part live. So so I think we got to assume that is Ambrose on this song, which is crazy. I never would have guessed.
Yeah. And it just kind of led to like this internal reckoning that I had of like, okay, you know, the highest pitch vocals are not necessarily always going to be Ambrose or like Joey when he goes to his higher register. The deepest vocals are not necessarily always going to be Stu, who has increasingly gone to that lower register in recent years. Like they're toying around with things and they're not even keeping it consistent within the album. Like, you know, the guy who took the high might take the low in the next track and vice versa and whatever. So I'm really curious, I guess, when we get to see these guys at Rave Night in New York, and also when the album credits come out, like kind of parsing out, okay, who does what exactly, and just kind of discovering, oh, okay, and maybe having some more enlightening moments of, okay, did not know that, but you know, the power of the vocoder, baby.
Speaking of album credits, I think I do really want to get my hand on a copy of this record, the actual vinyl of it.
Yeah,
the design of it's super cool. There's some really cool artwork inside, and the record itself is like this translucent blue, like light blue color. It's really sick looking. And I have, because of the nature of the way the album was released, like it kind of came out without an official release date ahead of time. So I don't know if this album is in local record shops, because the record store that I go to always has a ton of their albums. And so it's not, you know, like as soon as Phantom Island was out, they had it, you know, they posted on their Instagram like of all the time of when they have new releases, you know, new albums in stock and stuff. But I keep checking their socials to see if they've posted anything about having this album in stock, and I haven't seen anything yet. So I don't know if this one, maybe because it came out without a release date, maybe it's still kind of on its way making it to record stores.
Yeah.
I do prefer to buy albums from my local record store just to, you know, support their business. And it's also, I've bought some albums online, like some that I thought might sell out fast that I want to get my hands on right away. I have a couple Ween albums actually that I got recently, including 12 Golden Country Greats that I got recently with the reissue deluxe version of that album, where it's like I bought that online because I didn't know if it was going to be in stores or sell out, so I pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
But I always worry about possible damage and transit and stuff. Like, it's such a fragile thing, and if it's not packaged right, things could go badly. So yeah, I haven't ordered it yet, but I want to get it, and I want to take a look at it and see kind of what those credits are, how much detail they get into as far as who's maybe doing what on each song. I'd really, if anybody has the album on vinyl yet, I don't know if they've shipped out to people yet that have ordered it, but let us know, kind of what it says in there as far as credits. I'm curious if it breaks them down song by song or not.
Yeah, I feel the same about you when it comes to ordering online. I came like this close, and I'm holding my forefinger and thumb like a quarter of an inch apart. I came that close to just ordering online from PDoom while I was sitting on the beach the other day when I decided, okay, I like this one, I want it. But for reasons similar to you, I think I'm going to go to my local record shop soon and hopefully grab that one from them. We veered a little bit from the song discussion here, although we did dedicate an episode to it. All good. It happens. It's part of what makes this show great. We obviously dedicated an episode reacting to the single, so we're not going to go in too deeply. But I think between like the breakcore subgenre this touches on, the amen break that we talked about on that episode that I learned a lot from, so thank you to that, Joe. This one really captured a big subset, I think, of electronic giz enjoyers, and so this turned out to be a really wise decision, I think, on the band's part to drop this one as the first single. And of course, the "We're on Level 5" vocal refrain is just such an earworm, along with that siren-sounding kind of like flaring of the synth. And it has this dark, literally alarming feel to it. It's kind of like this mid-album wake-up call to your senses.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and I guess there's nothing really new that we could say about this song that we haven't said already on our initial discussion, our initial reaction to this single and the album announcement. So again, go back and check out that episode if you haven't, if you want to hear us really spend some time with this track. But it's still so good. It's, to me, still one of the strongest tracks on the album. One of the biggest standouts with sort of the amen break, drum chopping and stuff going on it. My only issue with it right now is that at this point, because it was the first single, it's the one that I've listened to the most, and I'm afraid that I'm overdoing it and gonna make myself sick of this song, so I'm gonna try my best not to do that. But just because of the nature of the flow of it, it's impossible. Like, I can't skip it when I listen to the album. Like, I've been listening to the album a lot. I'm loving it. And so I have to just let it ride, but I'm afraid I'm going to tire myself out from it.
I'll give you a little trick, something that I did in kind of re-listening to all the songs in preparation for the episode. One thing that I did with all three of the singles, I think, quite a bit, to avoid that ear burn for all of them, I would skip toward the end, but not to the very end of each of the singles, just so I kind of capture that track-to-track transition as they blend into the next track. So that kind of helped me avoid that, but also experience the nice blending of the track-to-track.
Right. Also, last thing I want to mention about this song for now is kind of going back to the performance of it at Field of Vision, which we can touch on in more detail on our next episode. As I said, next time we're going to be breaking down Field of Vision and the Forest Hills shows and everything.
Yeah.
But when they played this live, Cavs was playing along on his normal acoustic kit.
Yeah.
And it fucking ripped. It added like this extra element to it that just gave it like a special experience live. All the guys on the synths and Cavs just going nuts on the drums. It was so cool, and I'm glad they did it that way, because it would not be the same live experience without his monster drumming.
Yeah, and it's something you never really think of, like the whole dynamic of this big-ass synth table and all these wires and stuff, but you still have that traditional drum kit behind it. I can't think off the top of my head, my ill-informed head, that is, when it comes to these subgenres of other artists that do that. It just seems like such a unique combination to put a traditional drum kit with these electronic sounds. So I agree with you. I think it does add a lot to the live experience in that way.
Okay, I lied. I do have one more thing about this song, and then we can move on. But one thing that is interesting is in the music video version of it, you hear the last kind of final moments of Kill for the Steal at the top of the music video, and then it flows into Level 5. So that's why the music video version was longer and kind of had these different sort of things going on at the beginning. And then when we actually, the level 5 single on streaming or whatever is a little shorter, and it starts right off with the "We're on level 5" and all that. So, so just another kind of interesting thing. It was really cool to hear "Kill for the Steal" when that came out and be like, okay, here's the context of that song and what we're hearing at the beginning of the video for level 5.
And of course, level 5 was track 5 because it wouldn't make sense numerically anywhere else on this album. It's time now to move on to track 6, a pretty rad song, if I may say so myself. Well, because that's the acronym for the title.
I see.
RAD, aka Rapid Alpha Decay.
This is a really interesting song. It stands out to me as the most melodic. Like, there's a lot of feeling and emotion in the synth chord progression right from the very beginning. And another thing that stood out to me a lot about it, so, we talked about how, like, on level 5 and with all these tracks, you can't really tell who's singing. It's all vocoded and stuff. But this one, to me, clearly sounds like Ambrose singing. Did you feel that the same way? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, just something about the cadence of his voice. It's like, it's still vocoded, but maybe they let through a little bit of his natural voice as well, so that you can still actually kind of hear him. And I'm like immediately like, okay, yeah, this is Ambrose singing.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad we were of similar mind on that, because I had the initial kind of gut reaction. Oh, Ambi, like you said, it feels like they let a little more of his natural voice through, and that the vocoder kind of effects got intentionally turned down a little bit on this one.
Yeah,
and maybe because this one, like you said, it's more melodic. It felt more appropriate, perhaps, to give this one a little more of a human touch and reduce the machiney sound of it, I guess, that you got on level 5 and a couple of the other previous tracks in particular. No, but a beautiful delivery by Ambi, and a couple of the, I don't know, these were some of the words that came to mind listening to this. Kind of a bath of bittersweet 80s inspired synthwave. That is what this one feels like. Just those sweet swells just kind of washing over you like waves. But it also sounds like a more modern take on that in a way. It kind of reminds me of The Weeknd a little bit. I think it's called Dawn FM, his early 2022 album, which I grew to love very much because it's so 80s coded, something that I love very much in my electronic music. It just brought up some feelings of that for me, and this is another interesting mood shift for this stage in the album. Like it's got this bittersweet quality to it. It's like you're it's like you're a kid in high school with facing that summer heartbreak of saying goodbye to your summer crush. You don't know if you'll ever see them again. I know that's oddly specific, but it just sort of brings up that bittersweet quality, I guess.
That's the biggest thing about this song that kind of makes it stand out, is this bittersweet emotional feeling in the melody, and also this like kind of sadness in his voice a little bit. It's melodically, it's a very beautiful song. I will say it's a little bit of a lull in the energy, which is ironic because he is the keeper of the energy, as stated in the lyrics. But this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be nice to have a song that slows things down just a little bit between all the other really fast-paced stuff.
Yeah. Well, actually, you mentioned I am the keeper of the energy. That's the other character in this song, because the part that Ambrose sings is, I love the keeper of the energy. And then whoever that other vocal is, I'm just going to guess, Joey, that other character in the song is the keeper of the energy.
Okay, you know what? So I didn't even think about the fact that could be someone else singing that part, and it could be meant to be like two different characters in the song. And since you mentioned that end section where he is saying, I am the keeper of the energy, I love how the vocals sound there. That's a section where I made a reference to Daft Punk in my notes here again on this track, because it gives me a little bit of that touch of their style of like the robotic vocoded vocals.
Definitely.
And I love how the voice kind of slides between each of the chords as he sings that. It's like beautiful, and it just sounds so cool. I love that stuff. Like that's some of the stuff that got me into electronic music to begin with, was like Daft Punk and like just vocoded vocals, that robotic sound. Like that's what got me into that kind of music anyway. So I love how that sounds. And I guess it could be meant to be two different characters. We'll spend some more time researching and get deeper on that in the future.
Yeah, you're definitely the Daft Punk aficionado between the two of us, although I do enjoy them also, just haven't delved as deeply into them as you have. As for the way I kind of got into electronic music years ago, my route was more so through the Kraftwerk and sort of related older acts in the genre. And I just wanted to point out one specific moment at the very end that really points out that Kraftwerk
I know what you're talking
inspired
about.
energy. the final singing of energy, like it sounds like such a move that they would pull. It sounds like something pulled straight from Autobahn. They're one of their biggest hits. Wir fahren auf der Autobahn, and all these crazy like tricks that they would play at their live shows. This song just kind of provides a little bit of something for everybody. I think we're living examples of that. You know, you hit on the kind of the more modern, like you said, Daft Punk energy and vibes with some of the vocoded vocals. Then you get some of the Kraftwerk and adjacent type fans at the end there, and something more melodic and ultimately maybe a little more pop accessible. But the same can be said for a lot of songs on the album, because I think the vocoded vocals, a lot of people I think see as this fun novelty. That I don't know. I'm struggling for words, but I do think of this will capture more like mainstream fans than some Giz heads might expect, I'll say.
All right, with that, let us move forward to the penultimate track number 7, You Cutie.
Oh gosh, Joe, I'm married.
I'm sorry.
Flatterer, you. The song UQT. Yeah. Okay. That, first of all, that could not have been an accident or a coincidence on the band's part. I know this is meant to be a reference to an element, which I have a quick detail and bit of information on here. But the fact that it's UQT, that could not have gone over their heads. This had to have been like a tongue-in-cheek at the same time of, you're going to love a room full of people raving and saying UQT to each other. Whoever was at the forefront of writing this one was like, bingo, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
Give me some of that, you cutie.
So, UQT, I wondered at first why it wasn't all capitalized, because it seemed not like a word but an acronym. And it's not all capitalized because it's an element on the periodic table, and the specific style for elements is not all caps. It's initial capital followed by lowercase. And this abbreviation is for un quadrium, which is number 143 on the periodic table. And if you know your Latin roots at all, un quad trium, 143. It's one of a grouping of elements that kind of has a placeholder name based on its number. And I remember back in chemistry class in high school discovering that unium is number 111. And I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. I was not a chemistry nerd. This is as far as my kind of chemistry knowledge and recollection goes. But this theoretical or hypothetical is the wording, I looked it up, is a super heavy element is UQT. So that ties back into earlier in the album. But again, I would not be surprised if they chose that specific element for the double entendre of UQT. And also, Joe, do you know this? 143 stands for I love you in like kind of a, not actual sign language, but flashing the numbers 143 on your hand, because I, 1 letter, love 4 letters, you, 3 letters. Are you aware of that one?
No. There's another connection. I love you, you cutie. Oh gosh.
That one I'm not totally sure it was intentional, but could be, could not be. But back to the hooks, dude. We got a little bit of a hook in this song here on the penultimate track.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this song is just sick. There's a lot of things that make this one stand out. As far as the hook, as you mentioned, Give Me Some of That UQT is the main hook. And it's in this really high-pitched voice, and it's just like such an earworm, so catchy to just sing along to that. There are some other vocals. There's some other sort of verse sections, I guess, that are a little darker with these really eerie, like dark layered vocals. Like right from the beginning, electroshock therapy. They want to cut me open and take a peek. Then come out the clipboards as they study me, temple to temple, volts 120, no anesthesia, and no pain relief. So sort of the vibe of this one is like, I picture the alien from the level 5 video, and that it's from the alien's perspective of like, you know, I'm being experimented on and like tortured without any pain relief or anything. And like, they're just trying to like get something from me or like study me and use me for their science or whatever. And there could be another case of 2 different characters in this song where there's, you know, that's one of the characters, and then the high voice saying, give me some of that UQT, could be like the people that are experimenting on this alien or creature or whatever, saying like, give us this, you know, like you're the holder of this this mysterious element, and like give it to us, like we want to use you for this resource,
we want to extract it,
extract it from you. And kind of like in the level 5 video where they pull that like cube out of its chest and stuff, like maybe that's sort of what this is a reference to, is like extracting and using it for something that they want to take for their own gain or profit or whatever.
Yeah, if someone hasn't already done so, I'm sure they're well in progress. Some fan out there of, you know, developing all the theories, and not even necessarily Gizverse, but like specific to this album, of how the narratives of all these songs kind of interlink with each other, and the video, of course, for level 5, like you said. This one really does feel like one of the more direct references to the visuals we were given with this album, but just above all, the gimme some of that UQT, UQT. I need to hear this one live. Do you hear me, band? I need to hear this one live at Rave Night in 36 hours from now or whatever it is.
Yeah, like this
hours.
episode's not even going to be out before then, but like, yeah, we're just telepathically communicating to them, please do this one. They didn't do this at Forest Hills, do they? Is this one of the ones they didn't do?
This was one of the ones they did not do. This one and Atomic Collapse have not debuted yet.
Okay, all right. So
as of this recording,
please, at some point in New York, it has to be played, either Rave Night or the K-Bridge Rave. I'm hoping, though, Forest Hills Rave Night. I do it both nights. Fuck it, do it both. Everyone's gonna love it. Just do it.
Yeah. Screw the no repeats. You're in a different borough from Saturday to Sunday. So
that's right.
Do it.
That's right. It's still New York, but you know you could do some repeats between Queens and Brooklyn. It's fine. Another interesting thing related to that element part of this, of how it's referencing like this hypothetical element, the element may be the literal alien metal, because it is an element not of this earth and may not even exist at all. So it is alien to us. And I don't know if this hypothetical element is a metal, but either way, it could still be like, that's what the reference is like this foreign material that we want to get our hands on. And that can kind of relate back to like, you know, technology companies and these billionaires like wanting to take this thing for their own like profit and whatever. And they're torturing an alien to get it from them, I guess. That's kind of my theories so far about, you know, kind of slowly coming together with the story on this album.
Beyond the vocal hook, I like the initial stomp that kind of follows that first chorus, along with that high-pitched ding, 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 boom, 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 with that big thump. It all just fits together as a nice, another club banger here on the penultimate. But, dude, I don't know, any more standout moments on this one for you that you want to get into right now?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really want to. I feel like I've already touched enough on some of the kind of elements of, you know, what the song is all about and sort of the story behind it. So I don't want to go too deep without being sure about a lot of it. You know, we're going to get back to it eventually with our deeper dive, kind of digging into the full meaning behind everything. But, yeah, I really, really, really love this song. Sounds like we're both on the same page with this one being a standout for us.
Well, usually by this point in recording an episode, we're getting a little bit tired. We're about ready to fall apart, and I think, Joe, we're headed for an atomic collapse. Oh, no!
Nice. Oh, yes, that is right. So with all this talk of, decay and elements and atomic collapse, a lot of references to like chemistry and nuclear physics and stuff on this album, which will be something we'll have to learn a bit about and dig into more over time. But yeah, this is the final track, track number 8. It is fully instrumental. There's no vocals, and it's also the longest song on the album, coming in at about 6.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's essentially just this big, intense, energetic synth jam that just builds and builds and creates this big kind of climax finish.
Yeah, not a ton to say about it, on account of there being no lyrics, but this is really like kind of an atonal feeling for the most part track that just feels like it, more so than serving the purpose of a song, it's serving the purpose of sort of bringing this world together, this world contained within this album. Like very bleepy, bloopy, like I said, atonal, plenty of that electronic percussion, obviously. But toward the end, it does get a little bit melodic. You start to hear some synth swells and some fun loops that feel a little more lighthearted and sound like it's bringing things to a kind of nice, positive, punchy close. Earlier in the episode, Joe, I mentioned that it sounded like there was another subtle callback to earlier Giz, and by earlier I mean 5 years ago in this case. At about 6 minutes onward, it feels like there's a subtle Butterfly 3000 tease, the title track from that record.
So I didn't necessarily make that connection myself, but I could kind of see what you're talking about, because that song also ends in kind of like a big... I mean, that song has vocals on it, but it also ends in kind of this big, like, synth finish. So I can see, like, kind of the similar vibe you get from that with this big instrumental finale here.
One thing that I think makes up for the fact that a lot of this track is kind of atonal and not melodic is the cool tricks they play with the left and right channels. There's a lot of oscillation going on there in the production, so it feels like you're being just like surrounded by machines and these instruments in this world, and it's really cool. As I was kind of closing my eyes in the sun sitting on the beach the other day and experiencing this, I'm like, whoa, I'm in this world right now. And it sweeps you up, and it keeps you, kind of holds your attention in that way.
Even though the whole song is instrumental and it just kind of builds and builds, it does go to some interesting different places, and you can kind of like just get lost in it and get lost in that feeling of like, I mean, the song's called Atomic Collapse, so it kind of feels like something falling apart, or like, maybe this element that they try to get their hands on. It's this theoretical or hypothetical element is so unstable that like it should only be able to exist for like a fraction of a second and like, literally atomically collapse. So like I think that's kind of maybe what this is touching on, is like they finally get their hands on it and then it's just gone. It's so unstable they can't like contain it. And this is just like that sense of like, I don't know, after all this work or something, everything falling apart or whatever. We already kind of referenced this earlier, and I want to touch on this here. At the very end, it loops right back to the beginning, right back into Sapience. There's this kind of whooshing sound that just transitions straight back into it. So that's why at the start of the album with Sapience, you hear this kind of like little bit of a whoosh, and there's immediately the beat is going. And that is for this exact reason, as we kind of called it earlier, Octagon Infinity. So
Octagon Infinity opens the door.
That's right.
So the first time I heard that, though, I will admit, the first time I heard that kind of seemingly abrupt ending to the song, I'm like, oh, so does that lead into what's next? Because obviously the band for the last couple of records kept pulling that trick where it's like, oh, there's a little Easter egg at the very end hinting at what's next. You'll never know until you connect the dots later on, but like the horse whinny at the end of Flight B741, 16 horses galloping in Phantom Island.
Right.
And then going back to Silver Accord, Mirage City and Beowulf at the very end of Extinction Extended Edition. But I was caught off guard by this one, and it took, I would say it took no more than an hour or two to be like, oh, wait a minute, no. And then I played with the loop feature on Tidal. I'm like, okay, yep, it's a loop. Finally, 10 years after Nonagon, which I wonder if that was part of the decision, and almost celebrating a wink 10-year anniversary to one of their most famous records, that they decided, let's do that again. Why the fuck not? Let's loop this one.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, maybe in a way that was kind of on purpose, meant to be a little nod to it 10 years later, 10-year anniversary of Nonagon.
All right, so as we typically do on these album reaction episodes, we usually do like a 3 favorite and 1 least favorite for full album discussions, but since this one is fresh, we want to give our 3 non-single standouts. Obviously limited space to maneuver in here, Joe, because you're talking 3 of 8 tracks, and there were 3 singles released, so for my 3 non-single standouts at this moment, I have Sapience, Super Heavy, Super Critical, and UQT. I have a suspicion that we might align on this one. What do you have?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm on exactly the same page. I think that was pretty clear as we discussed them. Sapience, Super Heavy, and UQT. Those are absolute bangers. I do also love Rapid Alpha Decay, but it just... because it's a little slower, I don't know, the energy of the other ones are just standing out to me more right now.
For sure, yeah.
All right, so that's it for our reactions and our thoughts on Alien Metal so far. Of course, we also put out the call for some of you, our listeners, to give us your thoughts, give us your reactions and your initial feelings on this album. So, Spencer, would you like to start it off with a couple comments from Instagram?
Yeah, Justin reached out and said, Super Heavy is definitely the standout, but the whole album is like one big song like Nonagon. Just gonna keep this on loop. Yeah, Justin, I have not, since discovering that feature, I have not listened to the album any other way but on loop. Even if I just go into Sapience one last time before calling it quits. You gotta, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, but also then it's hard to get out of. You're like, okay, well, they all transition right into each other, so like, do I listen to Sapience one more time and then stop? But oh no, now it's flowing right into Alien Metal and all this stuff. So It can be a slippery slope. You'll get stuck in there forever, but yeah.
It's like a drug.
Yeah. Next one is from Rodney L., who said, the Alien Metal stuff was really good at FOV. Definitely growing on me, even if it won't be a frequent listen for me. It adds a lot to the live shows. And they've gotten like leaps better on the table from even Rave Tour last fall. And this was the same Rodney that we mentioned a comment from earlier, who had a reaction to Kill for the Steel specifically.
Yep.
And said, they really weren't feeling it. They're looking forward to, the guys picking the guitars back up. But this was a later message. This is a post-FOV message. And so it looks like it maybe won Rodney over just a little bit hearing it live. So I'm glad you were able to appreciate that and enjoy it in the live setting, even if, you're not a big fan of the album studio version on its own.
Yeah, so glad to hear that, Rodney. I'll just hit on this short one here, Joe, real quick before a couple of chunkier ones. Connor P. says, best album since the Silver Cord. I think it was a great idea to fully lean into the electronic stuff, though I hope they distance themselves for a few records. Yeah, we touched on a similar idea earlier. Fair enough. I think a lot of people are itching for some Giz rock, whether that be more metal, more prog, or back to the old psych stuff. Who knows?
Patrick K. said, Alien Metal kicks ass. The title track is quickly becoming my favorite song on the album, with UQT right behind it. Interesting, because that was the one I mentioned was my least favorite of the singles.
Yeah.
And so interesting. Okay, so that one's hitting with you. My 2 favorite things on those songs are the gated vocals on Alien Metal and the huge sidechain thumping on UQT. Simply cannot get enough of the vocoders used throughout this album and how alien it all sounds. King Gizzard, as usual, exceeded my expectations once again. I hope this isn't it for Studio Nathan and we get more albums with it, much like how they have multiple albums for their microtonal instruments. Perhaps a down-tempo ambient album of sorts. Cheers. Okay.
Please.
Some interesting ideas there. You referenced like sidechaining and some of these different kind of technical production terms, which I won't get into defining right now, but I know what you're talking about there. And I mean, down-tempo ambient, probably not exactly my kind of style. Actually, oh my God, this just reminded me, I completely missed a point on UQT that I didn't mention. So UQT has guitar on it, which makes it stand out for another reason. I can't believe we didn't fucking mention that.
I can't believe I didn't mention that either.
UQT has that like chugging palm muted guitar on it. And to me, that gave that like a touch of like an industrial kind of sound. And that is what I want. If they're going to do more electronic, I want them to lean into that industrial kind of metal electronic hybrid. That would be what my pick for more electronic next time.
Yeah, I would love that as well. And swooping in at the last minute here, Mike with the buzzer beater, the Mike side, who I had the pleasure of speaking with last year at the meetup in New York, and who's written in many times on the show before. Mike says, amazing album by an amazing band, once again completely taking over a genre and making it entirely their own. The choice of going full vocoder was a good one. Feels like actual aliens singing. Yes, it does at times. Some standouts to me are super heavy, super critical. This one is very Daft Punk coded. Joe, you touched on that. From the repeating, catching phrases to the bopping dance track, Rapid Alpha Decay has an amazing soundscape, again showing off how good they've gotten with their electronic stuff. UQT, another banger. That chorus is another certified earworm. Indeed. The album on the whole feels very tight, considered and perfected as much as they could, and honestly, they nailed it. This time around, they set out to make the perfect King Gizzard rave album, and they did. You can easily put this up at the club and be the star of the night. High praise said. There, Mike. I largely feel the same here. Absolutely. Glad you love it so much, and hope you're drying out after Field of Vision Night 1. It looks like it was a soggy affair, but hope to run into you on Saturday at the rave show, man.
Or glad we did run into you already, since it already happened when this episode is going to be out. Or sorry we missed you. Either way. Happy to see you, or sorry we missed you, whatever. Okay, moving on to our last three responses here. These ones were coming from Bluesky, starting with Agent Mothman, who said, in all caps, "It's really awesome. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is how all the songs are in the same key and 4/4. I do like how they switch from major to minor. My favorite songs are Sapiens and Level 5. I can tell they were very much inspired by The Prodigy and Aphex Twin."
Excited. We're excited.
I had to read it out the way you wrote it here. Sorry, but there is a bit of a lack of odd time signatures and things like that. I didn't really pick out if they are in the same key or not. My music theory expertise is not that great, but maybe I'd have to listen back and tell. But yeah, they do at least switch from major to minor, and little Prodigy and Aphex Twin with some of the more kind of ambient sections, maybe giving some Aphex Twin there. And the Prodigy has already been talked about so much, obviously, as soon as Level 5 came out.
Yeah, I started to comb through a little Aphex Twin myself recently, and that's definitely there as a reference. Agent Mothman, glad you're a frequent flyer here on the podcast. Glad you're enjoying it and so enthusiastic, and hope you get to experience this live sometime. Next up is Badass Skeleton Holding a Burger, a name that I love to read out so much on the show. Glad to hear from you. They say, not really a huge fan of the genre, but Sapiens is probably my favorite, with Alien Metal in close second, at least for now. Super Heavy and UQT are pretty catchy, though. I will say the cover art is very cool, probably one of my favorite covers from KGLW, alongside Polygon Dwanaland and Murder of the Universe. It is another one of those, very visual, not text-based, here's the text of the band name and the album name, it's just the art. So I hold this in high esteem as well. Badass Skeleton Holding a Burger. Glad you enjoy it too.
And our final message comes from our friend Noel Midnight from Midnights with the Lizard Wizard, who said, "There couldn't have been a better way to hear it than at the release party, where there was a huge dance/mosh pit. Brilliant album that'll require quite a bit of listening to fully internalize." Now, Noel, you should not have gone to that release listening event at Field of Vision. You are not supposed to be listening. Yeah, cheater. You're not supposed to be listening to any new Giz. You're still working your way through the discography in order. I guess we're going to have to give you this one-time pass, but don't let it happen again.
Not again. So yeah, Noel, thank you for writing in, and really curious to hear yours and Yael's opinions on the album, on Field of Vision, whenever you get around to it on your show. Really would like to hear what your experiences and thoughts were on everything. Thank you to everybody who wrote in, all 7 of you, I believe, by my account. Actually, 8 of you who wrote in with your thoughts on the album. If you want to write in with your experiences of the album or Field of Vision, or by the time this episode comes out, Forest Hills will be over, of course. Let us know, Polygon Infinity on all the socials, polygoninfinity@gmail.com.
All right, that is going to do it for our episode today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed hearing our thoughts and our reactions to Alien Metal. If you feel differently and you didn't get to reach out to us ahead of time, feel free to hit us up on any of those socials like Spenser mentioned, or our email. As for next time on the show, I think I hit on this a couple times, but next time we're going to be doing sort of a live show recap as we have done the last couple years of doing the show. After seeing them live, we love doing a recap, talking about the set list and our highlights, and we are only attending Rave Night at Forest Hills. It's the only show out of this short run of shows that the band is doing that we are going to get to go to, so we're going to have our personal experience from that. But we really want to hear from all of you if you're attending any of the other Forest Hills shows, the Rave, the K-Bridge Rave in Brooklyn, or if you were at Field of Vision, or if you're going to the Aussie shows. I forget what the dates are for those exactly off the top of my head, but if you're going to those as well, hit us up, let us know what you thought about them after those have happened. We're really excited for the show that we're attending tomorrow, tomorrow as in Saturday for Rave Night at Forest Hills. And we're excited to hear from all of you. So if you're going to any of these shows, or if you have already, hope you had a great time. Hope you have a great time. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you all. So we hope you join us next time when we discuss all of that.
As always, thank you for listening to Polygon Infinity, and thank you for keeping it weird and doing your part to spread the good word of the Giz. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you in the next episode. Later, Gators!
Woo!